Welcome to the ESI Africa studio, broadcasting from the East Africa Power Convention here in Nairobi. Today I have with me Albert Butare, who is the Chief Executive Officer at the Africa Energy Services Group. We're going to be discussing his involvement in the energy sector as well as what is happening here at the East African Energy Forum. Welcome, Albert. So glad to have you here again with us.
Thank you very much.
And I believe you've been very involved in the EPIC show at the opening address. So I'd like to hear what happened during the address, what were people talking about, what were the issues that were being raised?
Yeah, actually it was terrific, I must say. Right from the themes of the day, which was like strength to strength, from strength to strength, and also creating investment, the best friendly investment environment, which was good. And I will look at the cross section of the delegates. We had the private sector coming from all over, not only African continent. We had people from Europe, we had people from Asia, but also we had public personalities. We had governments represented. We had Rwanda, we had Uganda, we had obviously Kenya, we had South Sudan, and that countries that were presented at the ministerial level, and then we had other representatives at the level of directors representing their respective countries. Obviously the NGOs, the civil society, and the dialogue, I must say, was extremely attractive. And you could observe this from how attentive people were and the kind of questions people were asking. They are all pertinent, meaning they are like touching their day-to-day lives and businesses.
You've been involved in the EPIC show for a number of years now. How has this year differed from previous years? What has the sort of the environment been like?
Yeah, see, when you look at the importance of EPIC over the last years, you find that you have several repeat guests, meaning there is always something to learn about, because when they come here, it provides a fantastic platform for partnerships, for forging up partnerships in the businesses, and people keep coming over and over again because they know these are opportunities open for investments, for having new partners, opening new frontiers, for opening businesses in Africa, in Eastern Africa, and so on. And so it's becoming extremely interesting. And also you can observe it from the increased number of participants. Last year, we talked about 1,300 taking delegates, exhibitors, and so on and so forth. Today, we are talking about 2,000, about 2,000.
So there's definitely an increased interest in the East African region, which brings me to ask you about the pressing issues that need attention in this region, and how can we overcome those issues? Firstly, what are those issues, and what can we do about them?
You see, investment in the power sector, there is obviously small scale, but those don't really very quickly power the economy. Governments are looking at kind of medium and large scale investments in terms of generation, for example, in order to power and respond to the fast growing economies in the region. So, but such projects are not cheap. So it takes a number of parameters. And to me, bigger challenges have been, okay, as governments, as beneficiaries, how fast do we make these decisions to say, let's move, let's go, to begin with? We decide, let's move, let's go. That's one. Two, what does it take to move? In terms of finance, in terms of technology choice, in terms of transactions, in terms of trying to prepare these deals and to close them. What does it require? How do we address the bureaucracies to be able to finalize the discussions, decisions, and so on and so forth? So such are the issues that are still at stake. In some countries, for example, you will find that investors come and they realize that the countries are not ready, they don't have concessional kind of prototypes to enable agreements. They don't have power purchase agreements that are standard, so it takes ages. Some projects I've witnessed projects that take more than 6 months before they reach the closure. Such are the issues that impede the fast development of the sector.
Would you say that this is just how business is done in Africa?
Well, those are challenges, but over time, these things are being addressed. A number of countries now have legal regulatory frameworks that makes it easy. As certain tariffs, for example, feed-in tariffs for renewables have been set. You have standard power purchase agreements and concession agreements, so it makes life easier. What remains is like the process of transaction. Then obviously the speed of closing the agreement where especially the governments are involved. Obviously, governments differ from one to the other on the speed of undertaking this. But at least it's happening. In a number of countries where I spend a lot of time, you find such kind of issues that either make it fast or derail the process.
Right. In 2015, you won the Lifetime Achievement Award, which basically speaks to the amount of time you have spent in the industry and what you have experienced over so many years. Could you share with us some of the projects that stood out for you and why those particular projects?
So globally, I play as an advocate that links the needy part and the providing part. So I have been advising governments, start with my own government, Rwanda, Eritrea, Zambia, right now Lesotho, and a different of other countries. For example, here, along with other partners, we are advising Geothermal Development Company. So what I have seen, and from what we learn here, and from the contacts, we shall start with the enabling policies, legal regulatory reforms and frameworks, issues of tariffing, issues of making it happen, and at times even point finger to where the countries may be able to source quicker possible viable energy technologies, be it solar, wind, hydro, for example, from all these interactions we find here. And also from the perspective of interacting with different people here, the potential investments, public parties, and you learn country X needs such and such. We spend time over there, they require this and that. And on the other side, there is this provider who will be ready. So try to hook the two. And for me, it has been a very, very interesting undertaking.
So lastly, it brings me back to the conference. What do you want to take away from this year's conference?
Issues that have been discussed beyond other things, it's like different solutions to address different requirements. For example, one of the big targets is to have universal electricity access. That is the wish of all countries. And you will hear country X to say Vision 2020, another is like Vision 2025, another is Vision 2030, to have, let's say, the entire country with access to electricity. Now, we know what it takes to do that, but people are coming, these providers, investors are coming up with solutions. So many countries now are also beyond grid extensions and investments in the direction. They're also coming up with off-grid solutions which cater for distant places and communities also that get power. So you find that countries are moving very, very fast. An example of Kenya or what is happening in Rwanda, for example, you have now a lot of private companies that are involved in isolated grids out there to support the people. So that is happening. So what people have been discussing is to be able to fast track that, to be able to make it easier. Would governments, for example, consider issues of tax regimes on how they can make it easy for importing these such technologies or to make it affordable to the end users? So it was extremely attractive. Issues like energy efficiency, for example. How do we use less energy by using efficient equipment so that it's like an indirect generation of power that can be able to be used by people that are not connected right now.
There's a lot of potential out there and a lot of discussion that still needs to take place each year at conferences like the East African Power Industry Convention.
Even if there was nothing new, to build on where we were and be able to come up, where are we where do we need to go, what needs to be done. And this thing is like evolving. There is evolution technologies and attacking efforts, and it's a fantastic platform, I must say.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, Albert. Thank you for watching. I'm Nicolette Pompa-Francel, editor of ESI Africa, coming to you from the East African Power Industry Convention.